The other thing we're going to talk about, the other broad topic, Bruce.
Or as he's now known.
Yes, he's now known as Alan Funk.
The new Funk brother.
Yes, there's Terry, there's Dory, and there's Alan.
Well, Dory was on this last show as well, so
Dory
I wonder if he gave permission.
Dory has endorsed this change by Alan Funk. So, Bruce has reunited with Lenny throughout this month. The Rainbow Express are back. Lenny returns. Mm-hmm. Then Bruce loses to Jorge Estrada after Bruce literally slips on a banana peel, which Lenny was eating seductively. While they're making their entrance.
Good booking.
Literally the first thing on any of these shows is an interview with Goldie and Bruce, where Bruce reintroduces Lenny, and Goldie is jealous of his boots.
I mean, they were tremendous boots.
And they go to that match between Jorge and Bruce, which is a dire, terrible match. It ends, as we mentioned, on a count-out when Bruce slips on a banana peel at ringside. Not, like, figuratively, not falls over on the mat. He slips on a literal banana peel. The funny thing is, they undermine their own rules because, like, the prior week, Bob Armstrong comes out and says that titles will change hands on a DQ. And here we are, Bruce getting himself counted out, and title didn't change hands. Miss TNA did not go to Jorge.
We never confirmed that the Miss TNA title was on the line during this match.
So no, we did. The whole idea was that, like, Priscilla would win it if Jorge won.
Oh, yeah! Priscilla, the uncrowned Miss TNA.
Robbed by the rules that they did not follow.
Priscilla, the linear Miss TNA champion.
I like the way last week when I mentioned the Bob Armstrong rule change, you were like, and how long are they going to follow that? And I'm like, you know what, for a surprisingly long time. Then hard cut to the next week in which they did not follow it.
Was it all titles or just the NWA title?
Well, is Miss TNA an NWA title?
It's never said the NWA Miss TNA title.
It's true, it doesn't count.
So maybe it's just NWA titles.
So we go to the next week, where Brian Lawler hears moaning in the locker room.
Oh no, what could it be? I immediately assumed Sean Waltman had returned.
I think that it was meant to be Sean Waltman, and they rewrote it for the sake of Waltman, because this was the show that Waltman no-showed, so they decided to turn Bruce in more senses than one.
Oh, this is so stupid.
So Brian finds April in the shower, where, like, if you watch the Impact Plus version of this, her boobs are blurred. But if you watch the original version, there is just, like, suds on her boobs. Her boobs are, like, fully exposed, but there is soap covering them.
Hell yeah!
Brian's like, hey, why were you making sex noises in the shower? And April's just like, I'm having a shower, leave me alone. And then Lawler leaves, and they cut to Bruce sticking his head out of the shower.
And he's like, who? What's going on out here?
He was presumably being pleasured by April in the shower, and we are... Pleasured indeed. Mike Today and Don West are aghast at the idea that Bruce, the gay man, would be in the shower with April.
Bruce?
It's a shocking development. The worst part comes the next week. I don't want to talk about this one the next week.
The best part, man.
So April denies being out there in
Oh,
a
not
shower.
that part. I thought you meant the, like, the other part. No, the other part.
No, there's the...
Alright, let's go.
So the following week, April denies she was in the shower with Bruce before Lenny accuses Bruce of being a fake gay.
But just like, as we're watching this, we're like, Lenny, wouldn't you have noticed something?
They are waiting for marriage. You leave them alone.
Ah, fair enough. The funniest bit of this whole thing is if you watch our live reaction to this whole thing, in which it clicks that they are turning Bruce babyface and therefore have to make him straight.
The man cannot be gay and a babyface. That simply cannot compute. So they do, in fact, have to turn him in multiple senses so that the audience can cheer him now.
It's so fucking funny.
Because, yeah, we did this is on NWA-TNA pay-per-view number 22, in which we did the watch-along, which is available now on our Patreon under $10 tier, as we did come to that realization that, yes, in fact, they are turning Bruce. They want people to like and cheer Bruce, so he cannot be gay. But they like this gay character so much.
Yeah, that's the whole other level to it, is that they loved the gay character so much that they weren't willing to get rid of it, so they brought back Lenny Lane just to keep doing Bruce's shtick.
So Lenny wants to be the real Miss TNA because Bruce isn't really gay. Which leads us... Somehow this gets worse. It just endlessly gets worse. To the worst part of this, in which BG James faces Lenny Lane.
Which is like... I think most of our sentences in this podcast will be, and the worst thing happens, BG James...
So before this match, BG cuts what is definitively the worst promo in TNA history, where he refers to Lenny Lane as the F word, and he says he is going to have a gay bashing right now on pay-per-view.
Yeah.
That's... If I were watching TNA in 2002, it would be this promo where I stopped watching. It would be this is the point where I'd be like, I have never seen such open homophobia on a pro wrestling show as I did on this pay-per-view, NWA-TNA pay-per-view number 22, where BG James drops a gay slur and then says he is going to commit a gay bashing live on pay-per-view. Like, in the entire history of wrestling, you need, like, there's veiled homophobia, there's veiled gay panic, and there is some probably outright homophobia, but it's never been part of the story in any pro wrestling I've watched as it has been in this month of TNA. And it's just so disgusting and vile and stomach-churning and just lazy and cheap and entirely unnecessary. And I just hate it with every fibre of my being.
And BG James is the baby face. He's the good guy. The crowd cheers this.
Like, I'd stop watching. If this was 2002, I'd stop watching. This would be the point where I'd be like, this company is so desperate for attention that they're willing to pander to the lowest common denominator. So desperate and pathetic for people to give them any time of day that they're willing to be like, you know what? The people we want, the people who we really wanted to be supporters of TNA are the homophobes. And that's who we're going to go for here.
Good fun stuff, huh?
As babyface BG James beats heel Lenny Lane after calling him a derogatory slur and saying he's going to commit a gay bashing live on pay-per-view. And if you wanted more, after the match, April, instead of leaving with Bruce or leaving with Brian Lawler, she leaves hand in hand with Goldilocks.
What does that bloody mean, Mike Tenay says? Oh, bloody Goldie and her seem to be close all of a sudden.
And that's a tease that also goes absolutely nowhere. It's just like, lesbians? It's literally, this is like a teenager. It's like, what if they were lesbians? Isn't that funny?
Well, first of all, we have to say that we stand bisexual queen April.
Damn right, she can have whoever she wants.
She's hardcore, she'll take both.
Yeah. To question her taste in Brian Lawler, but you know what? Some people are into bad people, you can't help it.
Hey, Brian Lawler's redeemed himself.